everyone, and welcome into First Things First. I'm Heidi Watney in for Jenna Wolf. That's Nick Wright. There is Chiris Broussard in for Chris Carter. So, Nick, you're really holding down the fort this week.
Yes, I am right now. Chris has been awesome. Chris was one of my first people I ever worked with on TV, and Chris has been great this week. I miss Chris Carter, and I hope he has had a wonderful wedding and vacation in St. Lucia, but I could not have had a better partner all week, and I appreciate it, and we will finish strong. And you as well, thank you so much for filling in today for Ms. Wolf.
It's been a ball. I like that suit, too.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that, man.
You're both looking very dapper on this Friday.
Well. I don't know if dapper is the word I would use to describe. I don't know. You look wonderful, I would say. So thank you so much, Heidi.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Despite one of the craziest highlights we have seen from LeBron James, the Cavs lost to the 76ers 108-97 last night. LeBron had 30 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists in the loss. Cleveland has now lost 3 of 5 since the All-Star break, and LeBron spoke about it after the game.
I think right now there's so much that we're trying to fast track that it could become too much, I believe, sometimes, you know, and it's just tough. It's tough on our new guys. I mean, it's 7 games, and we're trying to, you know, put a lot in and get a lot in for these guys, but, you know, maybe, you know, just, you know, maybe scale it a little bit back.
So, Chris, how worried are you about the Cavs' struggles?
I'm not worried. I mean, they can win the Eastern Conference. I felt that even before the trades. I feel that way now. Doesn't look like they can beat Golden State or Houston or whoever comes out of the West, but they certainly can win the East. It's interesting because I feel like they're searching. Look, what they're going through are just the normal growing pains of a new team that's been put together, okay? But I've said searching because last night, LeBron says, you know, we got too much going on. We need to dial back, simplify. A few days earlier, Ty Lue, the head coach, had said, well, we become too predictable offensively. We're not putting enough stuff in for the new guys. We've been too careful with them. So they're just searching. They don't know. They don't have an explanation. I feel like I have an explanation. When I look at this team offensively, I've said it before, I think they're too three-point shot centric, and I don't want them to stop shooting threes, and I don't want them to stop shooting a lot of threes because they are a good three-point shooting team. However, when I look at their half-court offense, which is a mess, and it's been a mess really since the trade, if not before, what I see is a team where you essentially have 5 guys on the perimeter around the three-point line, other than Tristan, who's not an offensive threat, so he may be in the lane, and you have one guy driving. It might be LeBron, it might be Jordan Clarkson, it might be Rodney Hood. And that guy that drives is either going all the way to the cup and finishing. LeBron's doing that a lot. Or if he draws a double team or doesn't want to finish, he'll kick it out to a three-point shooter. I think they need to have more cutting with the driver.
Cutting from the drive. Exactly.
Yeah, they did it a few times last night. LeBron got a few passes from a driver. Larry Nance Jr. got a few passes and finished with layups or dunks. They can do that more often, and I think that would be a big help in their offense because I think it's kind of predictable. It's either one guy at the top of the key or at the wing who's sizing you up and going to go by you and then kick it out or finish, and that's it. So bring some cutting. Most of their movement is just for pick and roll. Other teams, you see a lot of cutting. You see a lot more movement on the baseline. With the Cavs, you see going to set a pick, and then everybody else is kind of standing around.
You heard what LeBron said. Ty Lue, after the game, said they thought they were thinking too much on offense. So the question is, how worried am I? Big picture, I'm not concerned. However, what is odd about this this stretch right now is the Cavs over the last 3.5 years have had a lot of ups and downs. That's almost always been based on their defense. The offense has been elite, top 5 in the league, basically from the first moment LeBron came back. When they've ebbed and flowed, it's been because sometimes they've had a good defense, mediocre defense, awful defense to go along with what has been a very good offense. What I saw last night was a team that looked stagnant on offense and a team that, if not for the transition game, which has improved since they added these younger, more athletic players, they would really struggle to score. You mentioned the three-point shot. Since the Cavs, with the new players, they've lost 3 times. In those 3 losses, 8 of 35, 8 of 34, 9 of 32 last night from 3. That's 25 of 101. So that's pretty easy math. It's just under 25% from 3 on a lot of 3-point shots per game. So to me, there were some positive signs in that game in the second and third quarters last night where I thought the defense was playing excellent basketball, where it looked like if Joel Embiid was
very well.
I thought the defense was bad in the first quarter. I thought they were going to have to score 120 to win it. And then the second and third quarters, I think they held Philly to a combined 45 points. I thought actually 42 points. I thought the defense played well in the middle of the game and really early in the fourth quarter until the very end of it.
They held them to 44% shooting, and quickly, I think one encouraging thing was I saw Larry Nance Jr. doing a decent job guarding Joel Embiid. So you can look at a small lineup where he can play center, LeBron can play the 4, and that's going to be a pretty good lineup.
But go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of defense, 76ers have the 4th best defense in the league. So do we give any credit to them?
No.
You say no?
Just young. I mean, they're a good defensive team, don't get me wrong. But no, the Cavs should be able to maneuver against that defense. No.
Philly has length and youth, and so they are full of effort. They're not taking possessions off. So it's one of the reasons that they're a tough team to score on. Like you mentioned, they're a top 5 defense for opponent field goal percentage, for points per 100 possessions. But the other thing that's reminded me of the first dozen games of the season. Remember, LeBron had missed training camp. You have all these new players. They started off 5-7. The Cavs are going to be in a really odd spot, unlike any team that I can remember, any good team in the modern NBA, where 4 separate times in one season, they're going to have to essentially remake what they're trying to do. Once to start the season with the new players who didn't get a training camp with LeBron. Once right after Christmas when Isaiah Thomas came back. Once right after the trade deadline right now. And then once again in a few weeks when Kevin Love, who they will have plays run for Kevin Love. They will run an enormous amount of their offense when LeBron's on their bench through Kevin Love. Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, George Hill have never played 1 single minute in their careers as a teammate of Kevin Love. So they're going to have to go through this whole thing again. LeBron and his excellence in the month of February, and he was very good again last night, has sustained them to a degree to where it's not like you have to worry about them falling out of the playoffs. You don't have to significantly worry about them falling out of the top 4 seeds. But this is going to continue to be a growing process. You know what it kind of reminded me of, Chris? The first 2 games Isaiah Thomas came in.
Yeah.
He was good. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, look at what they added. The first 2 games after the trade, the Cavs were awesome. And everyone's like, oh, and then all of a sudden for IT, I don't know what happened, but the health seemed to quickly deteriorate, or his confidence did. And for these guys, it seemed like maybe the initial, I don't know if it's momentum or energy they had from the trade wore off. And what it became was, we don't really know each other. We don't really know what to do on offense.
Which is natural. Yeah. I mean, I would rather have them struggle offensively than defensively. Because as you mentioned, they're going to put it together offensively. I mean, you got the best player in the world in LeBron. You know what he brings you. Kevin Love is going to be a huge help. We've talked this week about how when he is the definitive second option, he's been great. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 50% shooting, 40% from 3. And that's critical because Kevin Love has never been an efficient scorer. Even when he was putting up these monster numbers in Minnesota, he wasn't that efficient.
It was a volume score.
Now in Cleveland, playing off LeBron and not having someone in between you, Kyrie or Isaiah Thomas, he was really good. So he's critical for them because right now they don't have that second scorer. It could be Rodney Hood one night. It could be Jordan Clarkson. It could be George Hill. But all 3 of those guys, and then anyone else, J.R. Smith, whoever you want to throw in, they're inconsistent. Now, none of them are as inconsistent as J.R. He's the most inconsistent. But Rodney Hood is up and down. Utah had.
And we didn't even mention this, and this is not why they lost last night. But J.R. Smith didn't start last night, didn't play last night, and it was because of something. Now, I tried to find out. Chris has better sources than me league-wide. I got some decent sources on this one particular team. I tried to find out what exactly happened with J.R. Something happened. They said it was within the team, meaning it wasn't an arrest, it wasn't something outside of the realm of basketball. Something happened after the shoot-around yesterday that they suspended him for a game. That put Rodney Hood in the starting lineup, which, by the way, Rodney Hood maybe should be in the starting lineup when JR is not suspended. Yeah. But the other note with Kevin Love, it's not just his addition. The guy who is starting in Kevin Love's place, Cedi Osman, might go from starting to, in the playoffs, out of the rotation entirely. I think people are wondering, why wouldn't you start Jeff Green there? Why are you starting Cedi Osman when he's clearly it's not the next man up? I think what Ty Lue is doing there is he wants, when Kevin Love comes back, as few people as possible to be disrupted. So if Jeff Green were starting, and then he's going to go back to the bench unit's disrupted. He's disrupted. If Cedi goes from the starter to the 11th man, then it's the least disruption on the team. But in the meantime, you have a guy who is not yet ready to be an NBA starter, a 22-year-old rookie who's playing 15, 18 minutes a game, and he's not really a productive NBA player at this point in his career.
Yeah, and I think, too, right now, LeBron kind of has to adopt that mentality of just carrying the team through scoring. And he doesn't want to do that. He's going to get his 25 to 30 just because he's that great, but he doesn't want to be that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant that goes out and gets you 40 a night until Kevin Love gets back. When he was in Cleveland his first stint for those 7 years, he led the league in scoring 1 year, but that's not how he thinks of himself. But right now, when you don't have that second scorer who you know every night he's going to give me at least 18 points, then LeBron may have to just go ahead and think of himself as a scorer first until Kevin Love gets back.
This is the sixth time this year the Cavs have not had a single player other than LeBron score even 15 points. They're 1-5 in those games. So they're not that hasn't been a recipe for success for them all year long.
All right. Thanks, guys. We got to take a quick break. Coming up, could the Browns do something outside of the box with that #1 pick they have? That's next on First Things First.